Revenge of the Sith, we've all seen the horrible events that took place on Mustafar after Obi-Wan had the high ground, leaving Anakin disfigured and burnt alive, transforming him into Darth Vader. My question is, why did Palpatine, who was so disposable of previous Sith apprentices, that became obsolete, continue to take Vader under his wing and train him? George Lucas has stated that if Anakin hadn't been beaten by Obi-Wan, he would have gone on to become twice as powerful as the Emperor. However, after the events, he was only 20% less than the Emperor's maximum power, and therefore never able to overtake his master. In the novels, Palpatine states how he would find it weird if Vader never attempted to overthrow him, as he once did with his master, and most Sith before him. But now that his Force potential had been cut by more than half, he would continue to rule as the master for all time, and this is something he knew. For our answer, the following will be a passage read during this scene here from the Junior novelization. That's it. As quickly as he could, Darth Sidious followed the troopers outside, onto the black sandbanks of a lava river. A charred heap lay on one side. No, it can't be, but it was. His promising new apprentice, who was to be the greatest Sith who'd ever lived, maimed and burned, perhaps dead. Darth Sidious ground his teeth in frustration and anger. Part of him wanted to turn on his heel and leave what was left of Darth Vader to burn to ashes in the rising lava. Even if he was alive, even if he could be saved, Vader would be crippled. And not just with his mechanical limbs, the Force, the dark side, as well as the light, was generated by living beings, and it took to living flesh to manipulate it. Darth Vader would never be able to cast blue Force lightning. That required living hands, not metal ones. And with so much of his body replaced by machinery, he would never come close to the potential he'd had. It was a great pity, Darth Sidious thought, controlling his anger, but perhaps not irreparable. Even diminished, Darth Vader would still be very strong, and there were no Jedi left to challenge him. Sidious had seen to that himself. So he kept walking until he could bend over the body, and to his surprise, his apprentice was still alive. So as he approached the near lifeless Vader, he decided that after spending almost 20 years of manipulation and scheming for turning Vader, to let him die would be a complete waste of his efforts and sacrifices. Regardless of his thoughts to let him die alone on Mustafar, Sidious held a minuscule amount of affection for him, unlike how he felt about Darth Maul and Dooku, who were merely tools, as stated in the comics. The reason for this is never actually explained, but it could be hypothesized because of Vader's conception from Darth Plagueis, and his potential that he once held. To find another apprentice this loyal to the dark side now after everything he had done would take years, if even possible at all. He would cut his losses here and save Anakin while he still could. Palpatine also knew he had one last thing to tip Vader fully over to the edge of the dark side. He still had to tell him how in his anger he killed Padme, which is exactly what happened when he told him. He flipped and ended up becoming loyal to him. In yesterday's video, I mentioned how during this scene he actually tried to kill Palpatine until he realized he was the only person that he had left in the galaxy. What do you think of this decision? What would have happened if Palpatine did listen to his original thoughts and left Vader to die? That could be an interesting fanfiction video. I'm working on a new fanfiction for tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Until then, remember, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends,
the Force will be with you, always.
Now, fulfill your destiny.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider